Hello and howdy, and welcome to Front Range Hockey. My name is CC Hawkley, and of course, my distinguished cohort, looking all snazzy in his spectacles.
Yeah, I had to get a little dressed up today. Going to the Avs game shortly after recording this on this fine Wednesday evening. So, gonna go cover them, and hopefully they, kind of get out of this slump that they're in, and it's a good time. But yeah, I had to dress up, had to impress all 5 to 10 media members that are going to be there, and absolutely zero fans. So.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes these days. I was just covering the Eagles against Henderson last Saturday, and yeah, I asked for some table space because they sat the media in the just the kind of the seats, the stadium seats, just where the fans normally sit. And so I'm like, hey, perhaps I could maybe get a table so I could get my laptop out and spread out my notepad and everything. Right. Sit where the scouts used to sit. Sit where the used to sit. Yeah, that's a tongue twister,
nice.
Right?
Oh, so you're up there in like the, I guess like far side of the arena, huh?
Yeah, just on the end of the bowl there. It's just, kind of just not kitty corner to the press box there, but you could still see the press box.
Yeah.
So, so I get that. By the way, he's Scott McDonald. Forgot to say that. Yeah. In case you hadn't realized, he's a Pro Hockey Writers Association member and distinguished fellow Scott McDonald. So I think that should be your
fine introduction, CC. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, I'm here to help, and I'm here to help, man. Here to help, eager to please, for sure. So. Well, once again, Front Range Hockey, episode number 9 for this is going to be airing on Thursday, March 11th. And like Scott said, we're recording this on the 10th. He's got a hockey game to go catch. So let's get started. Let's talk about the Avs week that was. We had 4 games. And Wednesday, March 3rd, Avs 4, San Jose 0. Coming back strong after that loss on Monday. And Friday, a lot of the same. Friday, March 5th, Colorado 3, Anaheim 2 in overtime. And then Saturday, March 6th, they go to overtime yet again, but the result is not what Avs fans wanted. Ducks 5, Avs 4 in the extra frame. And then Monday, March 8th, Arizona 3, Colorado 2. So the Avs 2-2 on the week. And, of course, tonight at 7 p.m., Mountain Standard Time. Well, Mountain Standard Time. We're not in daylight quite yet. That'll be this coming weekend. So,
true.
But yeah. So Scott covering the Avs game tonight against the Arizona Coyotes, and it feels. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but it kind of feels like step forward, step back, maybe 2 steps forward, 1 or 2 steps back. I mean, how would you define this?
Yeah, it's been tough, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, I guess, in the last podcast when I would have written that piece about the inconsistency issues that the Avs have been kind of working their way through all season, and did pretty well. Started a conversation, and I think a lot of people the week before were kind of getting on my case about like, wow, Scott, you're getting up on this team way too easily, and like I don't know what you're talking about. It's like the injury bug, and like they're going to be like just fine. Like stop being a doubter, and it's like, well, stop being a homer. Like. My job is to, critique the team and kind of give my observations and opinions on the state of the team and how they're doing. And I did. And, it's crazy what a week did to my heinous opinion that was, 2 weeks ago. And I said the Avs were struggling and, we're no longer the Stanley Cup favorites. And now, wrote a column about how inconsistent they've been and, how they're not the favorites and how they're not cutting it. And a lot of people, are now on my side, and I think they're starting to see a little bit. We're seeing much of the same. I think this past week, the games that you just mentioned there a minute ago, that's kind of just further proof of the inconsistency. It's you got a nice shutout win, and then you win in overtime, then you lose in overtime, then you lose again, and it's they're 1-1-1 over the last like 3 games, and that's the definition of average in the NHL. And they're not a Stanley Cup contender if you're average, and I get it. Like the injuries aren't helping. The Avalanche get McKinnon back, on Wednesday, so hopefully that gives them a boost to their offense. But it sucks, and injuries suck, and yes, of course, that's playing a big factor. They're missing a lot of key guys. especially on the back end. It seems to be, a consistent issue for this team. Where they are consistent, I guess, is, in injuries over the last couple of seasons. And yeah, it's certainly not helping their case, but I mean, it shouldn't be, necessarily hurting them as much as it is right now. So I think inconsistency remains, a big problem. And as does offense and depth scoring, is something we have not seen over the last, I guess, the entire season. And Nathan McKinnon today during Morning Skate said the same thing. It's like we are consistently one of the top 5 or 6 teams with regards to offense, season in and season out. And, we're not cutting it. Yeah, we're great defensively, but that shouldn't take away from our offense. And if anything, it should actually make our offense better, which, I agree. And that was kind of a profound statement. Like, you should see those kind of go hand in hand. If you're keeping the puck away from the opponent more often than not, that means you probably have the puck more often than not, and you should be cashing in on those opportunities, and it should be driving your offense. And it's just simply not right now, and they kind of need to figure that out. But on the defensive side of things, they're looking solid, and that's all well and good. But you got to score more goals than the other opponent, and that's something that they haven't been able to do consistently this season. Yeah,
and I mean, defensively, I mean the fact is, the writing's kind of on the wall. We'll get into it. The Eagles have had a couple call-ups in regards to, a couple amateur tryout contracts from CHL guys. Bowen Byram, he's still got some, at least from what I've heard, Bowen Byram still has some seasoning to do in the WHL with the Vancouver Giants. And so, I mean, did I miss something, or is there any word as if Byron's going to stay with the team, or is he going to head out, or has he head out?
No, well, I mean, maybe that's where he did. No. So no, I think he passed. He officially is on an NHL contract now, since he passed that. What's normally they have like a 9-game kind of stint, I guess, to make the team. If not, they have to go back to the team that holds their rights, whether that's the AHL or, in Bowen Byram's case, it would have been the Vancouver Giants of the WHL. Right. But he stayed past that. This season, it was only, it's a short year, I think. They got a 7-game stint to try him out, and obviously he's played past the 7 games, so he effectively kind of just signed his contract right there, and he'll be sticking with the team for good. So he is officially a full-time Avalanche moving forward, and the kid looks great, but he's not on the ice right now, and that sucks, and it's obviously going to hurt his development a little bit too. But we'll see. Hopefully he'll come back soon. I don't know if we really have any updates necessarily on where he's at as of late. So hopefully it's not as bad, but yeah, he said I think Bednar early this week said, outside of McKinnon, who is coming back Wednesday, or by the time you guys are listening to this, last night, or whatever. He said no one else is particularly close, so that kind of groups in Makar and in Byram as well. He's like, I haven't gotten any updates from the trainers, so I just assume it's business as usual, and we'll take it kind of day by day, and 0 updates. So that's annoying, but hopefully they come back soon.
Yeah, and you can clump Francois in there as well. We'll talk more about that when we're asking the feed. I know we had a question in that regard, but that game that was on that you covered from a distance, I believe the 8:00 San Jose Colorado game last Wednesday, at 8:00 Mountain Time, of course, and Joachim Blackfield decided to lay out that hit. And we've alluded and we've talked about McKinnon being injured. And, of course, that was the hit that injured him. And, of course, Blackfield, being an AHL guy, mainly and mostly, Joachim Blackfield was the leading scorer for the San Jose Barracuda. He was scoring every game and really getting the Barracuda in shape. And, of course, he got the call up to the Sharks, and then he pulls some shenanigans like that. So that's why McKinnon's been sitting out. And I mean, I don't want to pin it all on that, because, to say McKinnon being out as the scapegoat, it kind of, you lose the forest for the trees. So, I mean, that probably hasn't helped matters much. And what did you think about the Blackfield hit? I was curious about that too, Scott.
Yeah, I guess we'll start there. I mean, I didn't have, much of an issue with it. I think it was an accident. He obviously didn't do it intentionally. I think it was his 4th game in the NHL, right, or 5th game in the NHL. Like the kid's a rookie, and he's trying to do everything he can to kind of earn his spot on the San Jose Sharks and not get sent back down to the Barracuda. And one of the ways young guys do that coming up from the AHL is playing very physical hockey. And I think he, saw Nathan MacKinnon, who is a superstar in the NHL, and it's like, this is a damn good way to impress my coach right here and my teammates and prove that I'm not like afraid of, some of the best players in the NHL and that I, belong in this game. So I think he maybe targeted him a little bit, and he wanted to go for that, big layout hit. And I think just the way MacKinnon spun at the same time and he kind of leaned into his check and was committing to it, I think he just kind of caught him up high, purely on accident. MacKinnon said the same thing during after morning skate today. It was his first availability that he's had now that he's healthy. So he got to speak with us media earlier, and someone asked about that. Like, did you think the 2-game suspension was fair? What did you see on that hit, or I guess rather, probably not see on that hit? And did you think it was, like malicious or intentional or dubious, any of that? He said no. He's like, honestly, I didn't even think about it. He's like, I wasn't even hurt too bad, so I don't really care. He's like, I know he did it on accident. He's like, I didn't even know he got 2 games. I don't pay attention to that much like stuff. But yeah, I think 2 games is fine. Like, he's a young guy, and I know he didn't do it on purpose. And wipe your hands clean of it, and that's that. He served his punishment. So yeah, even like coming from MacKinnon, like you think he'd be pissed off about that and upset, but even he was just understanding of it was an accident, and I don't think it was too big of a deal.
Yeah, that was kind of my. I mean, he wasn't charging. He wasn't had his stick out or anything like that. And that's the thing. Like, whether you're going from the ECHL to the AHL or the AHL to the NHL, and you're a top line guy down in the E or in the A, and you're getting called up to the next level on the 4th line, what is the 4th line mostly known for? It's known for the grinders. It's known for physicality. I mean, you play any old NHL 94 or anything, it's called the checking line. It's called the checking line for a reason, because you have your checkers out there. So yeah, I mean, the 4th line, it has always been kind of the gritty line. It's been the line of grit and everything like that. So to have a guy that's, a scorer, always get called up, and, like you said, they want to impress, they want to be able to put the body on some guys, and sometimes that doesn't always work out well, especially with Blackfeld.
Yeah. I guess my biggest qualm with, that hit on MacKinnon is like I said, like, he's trying to impress, he's trying to earn his spot on the roster. And that's, a big way that they do that, because you're, playing on the 4th line and playing, 5 to 7 to maybe 10 minutes, as a guy in his 4th or 5th game in the NHL, you're not getting that much ice time to really, impress anybody. So I think the biggest way to do that is, go out and earn the respect to your teammates and lay a big hit or drop the gloves and fight the big man on the other side. And I guess my biggest issue with that is you don't go after the superstars. That's, you're not you're not going to go after Sidney Crosby on your first shift and, try to just destroy him. Same thing with MacKinnon. I'd loop him in there as, one of the top 3 players in the NHL. But that's stupid to go after a guy like Nathan MacKinnon. It's like, go after, Landeskog, go after the captain, go after someone like huge, like an actual big guy or a guy on the defense who's willing to fight. But I certainly wouldn't go after MacKinnon, but he did. And, in a way I kind of, maybe respect it because it was a ballsy move, but it's unfortunate the way it happened. And just, I think we're all, thankful it didn't hurt MacKinnon anymore. And I know McKinnon's very thankful it didn't hurt him anymore. And that would have just completely derailed an already, kind of rocky Avalanche season for sure.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, the injury could have been much worse. I mean, especially with McKinnon's head exposed. I mean, we've talked about concussions and of course Matt Calvert and his dealing with that, but it reminds me, I mean, you mentioned that you don't go after the superstars. It reminds me of the anecdote where I think it was Steve Yzerman chastising and correcting a young Sean Avery on the Detroit Red Wings when Sean Avery tried to chirp Joe Sakic from the bench. And I think Stevie Y said, "You don't talk to Mr. Sakic that way." And it was like, there is that code, man. You don't, I mean, if you're not chirping those players, then you're definitely not going to go after those players by any means either. So
exactly. Yeah. There's a certain level of respect to the game, and that showed a bit of a lack of it to go after those superstars. And yeah, that little anecdote is a prime example of, why you don't. It's like there's certain players that are untouchable in this league, and I think we're definitely getting to that point, if not already at that point, where McKinnon is in that group of people that you don't touch. What I didn't like, I think a lot of people didn't like, was the response from the team after that happened. It's like,
okay,
you go after your superstar player like that, he's down, got hit up high. There's a little bit of a scrum, but someone's got to go out there and kick his ass. And I know he got a match penalty and got kicked out, but that's certainly something that I would have loved to see more of a response from the team. And I saw it all over Twitter too, that people were not happy that the Avs lack that kind of enforcer. And Zadorov last year would have been, he probably would have hopped off the bench if he was on the bench and kicked his ass. But yeah, there wasn't too much response, and the general consensus in the post game from the players was like, oh no, we did respond by scoring a goal on the power play. And it's like that's BS. I mean, that's certainly one way. Like, yeah, you guys went up 3-0 or whatever. Like, congrats. But also, like, there is a certain element to the game where we've kind of talked about a little bit on this podcast, how we're kind of phasing out of the physical players and kind of that intensity and the enforcer role in the game. And but I think that's kind of one place where it still stays, is you should be defending your team's honor, defending your superstars, and going out there and kind of making it a point to put him in his place, especially as a young guy. And kind of effectively doing that Sean Avery, Steve Wise. I mean, like, no, you don't talk to Joe Sakic like that. And like, I wish someone would have done that for Blackfield, but
yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. So, but good point. I mean, somebody should have, dropped the gloves and when your superstar's down on the ice like that, you have to respond. I mean, I've seen cleaner hits that people have responded to in that way. So it's like, yeah. Anyway, so with all that talk about the Avs, we'll get some more questions here about Colorado and the Avalanche here in a moment, a few segments from now, but let's talk about the Eagles a little bit. So the Colorado Eagles faced off against the Henderson Silver Knights this past weekend. They were supposed to also have a Monday night game, which unfortunately, because of COVID-19 protocols, was canceled. So we had just the weekend set there, just the Friday, Saturday. Like I mentioned, I got to go on Saturday and see the Henderson Silver Knights first place defense and 1.78 goals against average on the season, the number one in the AHL, my God, Henderson is the real deal. 10-1-0 now, and the Eagles, they tried. I mean, Megna had a couple of goals that first game. Jason Megna was the only offense in that first game, and Henderson took it 4-2. And then that second game, aside from Ian Scheid's first professional goal, Eagles just let 3 goals in the second, and Henderson is riding that PDO train, man. They've got all the puck luck in the world, and to top it off, they're just a skilled team, So when you're a really good team and you're getting some puck luck, I think their PDO is like 108, which is just astronomical if you know anything about analytics and PDO. It's just a fancy number for puck luck, man. You got your save percentage plus your shooting percentage. You add those together, and that's your PDO number. So, yeah, a 108 PDO is really, really, really good. Like 102, 103 is considered, you're getting really lucky. Well, 108 is just, off the charts. It's just like the old cartoons where the red bar just goes right through the chart, and it just keeps going. Exactly. So that's, I mean, the Eagles, with all the call-ups, with all the Avs injuries, you can insert those excuses there, but of course they're professionals and they have to accommodate for that. And they, of course, have signed a lot of guys, and they're now losing guys like I talked about earlier to their amateur tryout contracts. Goaltender Trent Miner, he's been released and he's heading back to Vancouver to play with the Giants there in the WHL. And Sasha Mutala, he's also heading back up there I forget what I think. Gosh, I want to say Mutala is OHL
Tri-City
guy. Oh, he's Tri-City?
He's WHL. Okay. Yeah, Tri-City Americans.
There you go. Okay. I got him confused with Berzan and Jean-Luc Foudy, I think. I think one of those guys plays in the OHL.
Foudy's OHL, I think. So we'll see. Yeah, when they get started up, I think that's happening somewhat soon. And Yeah, same thing. He'll have to skate off in the sunset as well.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But Miner and Mutala were released from their ATOs on Monday, and you've got Ty Lewis coming back from the Utah Grizzlies, and Riley Woods signed to a PTO, professional tryout, and so yeah, I mean you've got those guys coming back. The Eagles re-signed, or they brought in Miles Gendron again, and so just bringing these guys back in that are familiar with the system, and they are kind of, they're kind of in the same place as the Avs are right now. I mean, you look at their record, and they're, I think, 5th or 6th place out of 7 teams in the AHL. Yeah, let me bring this up real quick. Yeah. So,
yeah. No, I mean it's an organizational thing, like when one team struggles, it seems the other does too. The farm team. And it's kind of just similar situations, both kind of caused by the Avs. Like on the Avalanche end of things, there's a lot of injuries, so they have to call up a lot of guys from the farm team, from the system, and that in turn kind of takes away the top talent, like the Megnas and those kinds of guys. Takes them from the Eagles to kind of sit on the bench sometimes and maybe on the taxi squad, and unfortunately, that hurts the Eagles. So it's just, kind of more or less what I expected when these injuries started happening, that it was going to be, a struggle. And that's kind of so far proven to be the case. And hopefully they'll turn it around. Hopefully the Avs get healthy for the Eagles' sake, and they can, start getting some of these guys back and playing in Loveland.
Right. That taxi squad definitely doesn't help either, because Megna getting called up, after scoring 2 goals on that Friday game, and then hour and a half before puck drop, I get an email in my inbox saying Jason Megna has been, called up by the Colorado Avalanche. And it's like, well, there goes one of your, fringe NHL, AHL guys. And yeah. So, and you throw, Charlie Girard, rookie Charlie Girard in there with your first line guys with Tynan and, I want to say, I don't think it was Sherwood, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I know Tynan was
Wagner.
It wasn't Wagner.
Maybe.
Wagner was, I think, 2nd or 3rd line. But Wagner continues to play lights out. I mean, he plays like a man possessed every game. Every game I've watched, I mean, Wagner's just tenacious. He's got tenacity. He's just tenacious. So
I love it.
I mean, there's that. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, I've got their record now. It's 3-5-2. 8 points in 10 games played. Unfortunately, that's not going to do the trick in the Pacific, because you've got Henderson in first, like I said, 10-1-0. San Diego in second. They've had 15 games played. They're 9-6-0. They've hit a bit of a slump, but they've still got a bit of a cushion there. San Jose and Bakersfield are starting to trend in the right direction. Tucson trending in the opposite direction. So it's like Tucson and Colorado. Ontario is just bad this year. 1-10-2. I mean, you had all that talent. Your Quentin Byfields, your Kalyevs, and they're just, I mean, yeah, they went from like a kind of a bruising team last year to a speedy team this year, and they're losing some stuff in translation, unfortunately. So, but I digress. To the Eagles, what they've got coming up next is the Texas Stars. They've got a 4-game set down there in Cedar Park. They've got the Friday and Saturday, March 12th and 13th, and then they've also got that Tuesday and Wednesday, the 16th. And the 17th as well. So a 4-game set in Cedar Park before Colorado then heads to Henderson, 24th, 26th, and 27th. So, yeah, that series against Henderson, those 2 games were the only home games that the Eagles have this month. So we'll have to wait till April until I get to go to another one.
Yeah. And hopefully, obviously there's not really any home ice advantage, but for our sakes, to be able to go to the games is kind of fun. But we won't brag too much to the to the people listening to this. But hopefully they can turn it around. Offense has been a serious struggle. I'm looking at the stats now, and they've only scored 22 goals. Like, I was thinking they were behind in games, but it looks like the average in the Pacific Division is about 10 games. And yeah, only 22 goals. The next closest is 27, and that's Tucson. And they've allowed the second most goals, third most goals in the division, and yeah, it's gonna be tough to win in that kind of situation. And again, you're looking at the guys like Megna has 5 goals in 4 games, or 4 goals in 5 games, something like that. and the Tynans and some of your big offensive threats and your goal scorers, and to
Liam
rip those away
O'Brien.
from the Eagles. Right, yeah. But
Well,
I'm talking about like just for the guys that like get pulled into like the NHL. It's like especially a guy like Megna who's at the AHL level, playing lights out, and you got some compliments even from Bednar yesterday, just about how he and Jacob McDonald have been the standouts of the Eagles call up so far, and they've thoroughly impressed him. And so it's unfortunate, like there's nothing they could do about it. You kind of feel for Greg Cronin, Coach Greg Cronin, and the Eagles in general, just to not have some of those guys, especially with how injured their NHL club is. And that's an excuse, just like the Avs injuries are as well. But there's some truth to it. It's tough to play, when you're down like half your roster, and especially some key guys too. So I feel for them, and hopefully the Avs start to get healthy, and the Eagles get some of those guys returning to them, and they can get a little streak going.
Yeah, and I know that pretty much ever since the Eagles came into the AHL, they've struggled on special teams. They've got a top 10 in the league penalty kill, but their power play is at the bottom of the basement. 28 out of 28, 7.5% conversion rate, only 3 goals on 40 tries. And you're not gonna win many games when you can't convert like that. And looking here, 40 tries, that's about league average, I would say. Anywhere between 40 and 35 and 40. We'll say 40 and 45. Yeah, that's about. Yeah, some teams don't have a whole lot of chances, and some have played less games than others, so it's hard to get a gauge on that. But real quick to wrap up the Eagles, something else I noticed, and I put it out there on Saturday. I said, hey, I don't see Ryan Tobler on the bench for the Eagles, assistant coach Ryan Tobler. And a fan came in and tweeted it out and said he resigned on Thursday. And I said, excuse me? I didn't see anything about this. I didn't see any release. I didn't see anything. Yeah, and it was a tweet. It was a tweet from Mike Chambers. And this fan, I think it was David Nola, actually, that reached out and said that.
Really?
He's asked a few questions on Front Range Hockey before, but he says, this is the only thing I can find, was that tweet from Mike Chambers saying assistant coach, Ryan Tobler has resigned. And it said, he's got his number up in the rafters. He played for the Eagles in the CHL days, et cetera, et cetera. And, been with the club for a long period of time, but it was really abrupt. There was no press release. I was going to ask about it on that Monday night after we recorded an episode of the Calder Farmstead, but again, that game was canceled because of COVID-19 protocols. So, Ryan Tobler just, and it makes sense that maybe that was the reason why the next game on that Saturday, the Eagles got a penalty for an incorrect starting lineup. You can get a bench penalty for that. Yeah. And so if Tobler was responsible for that, and you take him out or he resigns on Thursday, you've got a new guy responsible for that on Friday. It would make sense to me.
Yeah. Wow. Quite the mess going down there in Loveland. It's man. They've lost a lot of big guys. Unfortunately, Ralph Backstrom. Obviously, we know what happened to him. Rest in peace. And now to lose Tobler and Chris Stewart, stepping down too. It is just kind of a whole changing of guard here. And again, that makes me just feel for Cronin, and he's probably doing all he can to kind of like piece the puzzle, keep it together, and do everything he can with the pieces he has to work with. But a lot of changes happening organizationally, especially with that franchise down there in Loveland. So it's starting to make sense. Like the writing's on the wall a bit with this 3-5-2 record. Just not only on ice performance, and obviously what we just talked about, in the Avs kind of pillaging most of those Eagles guys, so it makes it tough. But also just a huge just kind of sweeping changing of guard that's kind of happening in the last very quickly. The last like a month or so. It's like completely new kind of staff now. So that's crazy. I didn't know about that. I must have missed that tweet from Chambers. You would think that there would be some sort of like release about that too. That's interesting. I don't know why they're trying to keep it like secret.
Even something along the lines of, hey, he's stepping down for personal reasons. We ask that you respect his privacy. Sean brought that up on Calder Farmstead. He's like, nothing at all. Like not even a, hey, this is happening. But no, a tweet from Mike Chambers, and that's it. And that's all that has been. I've scoured a little bit, but I may have to scour a little bit more to see if there has been an announcement. But I see nothing. I see nothing on the news feed or anything like that. So I need to put my investigative journalism hat, yeah, and I'll try to find something out. But that's all I've got for the Eagles. And obviously the college hockey season is over, but I did want to kind of touch base and give you a little bit of closure in regards to who the best scorers were for DU, CC, and Air Force Academy. So we'll do that, and then I'll mention something else about Air Force Academy that I think I forgot last episode, which is that's my bad. So we'll start with DU. DU, their top 3 scorers. Well, we'll go top 4 because they had. I'm going to do the ones that had double digits in points. So you had Cole Gutman, 8 goals, 11 assists for 19 points total. He's. I'm looking for his age here, and it's not on.
Senior.
He's 21. Yeah, he's 21.
Yeah,
so he's a senior. Yeah, it took me a second there. Carter Savoy, 12 goals, led the team. 12 goals, 7 assists for 19 points.
Like first team all rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie. He's a freshman. So
freshman, I guess.
Yeah, well, I knew.
yeah.
So
tomato.
That's tomato. So that's definitely a bright light for DU going forward, is to have Savoy on the roster. And then Cohen, can I buy a vowel, please? Olszewski. There we go. I got it the first try. Yeah, Conan Olszewski.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
Me and you with the names. It was can I buy a vowel got me good. But
can I buy? Oh, good.
The names, yeah. We've had a rough time. If you guys are routine listeners of our podcast, we botch names on the regular. That's something we pride ourselves in. Yeah, maybe it's kind of something we're known for. It's like our calling card.
It's our brand. It's hashtag for the brand.
Exactly. We're for the people. We're for the layman, for the average guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like Joe Walsh. Like Joe Walsh saying, we're just ordinary average guys, and we're all about the Rocky Mountain Way. So there you go. Joe Walsh with 2 appropriate songs that embody the spirit and the zeitgeist, if you will, of Front Range hockey. So anyway, I digress. So those are a couple of those top scoring guys. Olszewski, 4 goals, 8 assists for 12 points. And he's a senior as well, so he won't be back next year. I couldn't find any info on Antti Tuomisto. 2 goals, 9 assists for 11 points, but I've got no birthday, I've got no birthplace, no age. So is Tuomisto a rookie as well?
I think he might be. Yeah.
Might have to do a little research here. Tuomisto, Antti Tuomisto. Yeah, there we go. Drafted by the Red Wings in 2019. How old are you, bud? Gosh.
Well, probably under 21. We can assume he's somewhere between 18 and 21, as most college guys are.
He's 20.
I don't think he's a grad student or anything.
Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah, he's 20. I was just kind of perplexed why there wasn't any info on HockeyDB on him. So, but there's your leading scorers, and Savoy and Tuomisto, they're going to be back next year. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, as we say in Idaho. Live there long enough, you pick up a thing or two. But yeah. So that's DU's leading scorers. Let's talk Colorado College. Josiah Slavin, 5 goals, 8 assists for 13 points. Senior, Erie, Colorado. Denver metro area native. Ben Copeland, 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points. Adena, Minnesota, pride of Adena, Minnesota. He's 21. He's a senior. He's probably out of here. Grant Cruikshank, 8 goals, 2 assists for 10 points. He's 22, so he's a senior as well. So it's like those are your only 3 guys that were in double digits this year for the Colorado College Tigers. 22 games, and 16 games played for those guys respectively. And just kind of a down year. So it's not a big surprise that those guys, those are the only 3 guys with double digit points. And yeah, I mean, I can't from your coverage of DU. Do any of those names ring a bell for you, Scotty?
Yeah, so Olszewski's a guy. He's honestly been like my only point of contact for DU. I've called him on the phone a couple times, and he's the captain So I've done a couple stories on him because, he got promoted to captain like during quarantine. It was kind of just like a weird year. Talked about, how they had such a great team last season heading into this year, and then, how much of an honor it is to be the captain. And he's a really nice guy. Sounded like a great captain. I didn't get to see any games in person because that wasn't a thing this year. But I mean, he's a leader for sure. And then Savoy, obviously, I think he's going to be the guy that most DU fans are going to get to know. Moving forward as a guy who can score goals. He's already drafted. As a freshman before he even touched the college campus, he was drafted by maybe the Ducks. Could be totally wrong about that one, but
I'll look him up.
He came as advertised. Did everything in his power. I think at one point he was leading all rookies like the first month of the year in goals and was like top 3 in points. Kind of continued that tear that he was on and played very, very well. So definitely the Pio is going to be happy to have him back and have some goal scoring back. And it's unfortunately going to lose some of those guys like Gutman and Olszewski. Some of their seniors that have been key pieces of the leadership and obviously goal scorers as well and putting up points. So it's going to be a very young team next year, I think, as it was this year. But they've lost in the last 2 years like 9 or 10 of their just really incredible seniors that have been huge for them. That's kind of what this regression was this year. I think they lost like 5 or 6 of just some of their best D guys and forwards as well. So that was rough. And I think Magnus Krona is I think their goalie. I'm not sure what year he is. I don't know if you can look into that, but that's gonna be rough when they lose him because he's been a staple for the past 2 years, and maybe he was just a freshman last year or a sophomore, so he might only be like a junior, maybe heading into a senior year. But the hope is he doesn't declare, or I think he's been drafted too, so hopefully he doesn't go sign his ELC, his entry level contract at the NHL club, and that'd be a big blow too, because goalies are just hard to find, and the NHL people will tell you that, AHL people will tell you that. Just goalies are notoriously hard to develop, and when you got a good one, you want to keep them forever. But in the college ranks, unfortunately, that's not possible. But
right. So Savoy, to answer your question, Edmonton this year, so 2020 entry level draft, round 4, number 100 overall, the Century Man, Carter Savoy. So his rights belong to Edmonton, and Magnus Krona is a Tampa Bay Lightning prospect. He was drafted 152nd overall in the 5th round in the 2018 NHL entry draft. So, maybe you see him with the Syracuse Crunch or depending on, where the goalie system is, even Orlando Solar Bears there for the Tampa Bay Lightning, to get some reps. But we'll see if they sign him. He's a big guy, 6'6". I mean, I know Tampa Bay is big on the big goaltenders. I know that. Like the tall guys.
And to be, kind of groomed under Andre Vasilevsky down there in Tampa is going to be huge for his development, and to possibly be his successor is great. And they love their big boys, except for forwards. I think they're like one of the smallest forward groups, maybe. Interesting. They're a pretty small team in general, but they always go for the big goalies, and that seems to be the in vogue thing to do. I think a lot of teams just assume tall goalies are more mobile and block more of the net, and when it makes sense, A plus B equals C or whatever. But that's cool. I'll be interested to see what he does, and maybe he'll go AHL, sign his pro contract, and we'll see. That'd be a big blow though. He's been clutch for the Pioneers over the last couple of years. Right.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. We'll keep the viewers posted, of course, and if it interests us, it's not going to be something that you're not going to be interested in. So, not to toot our own horns, but toot. So anyway, let's talk Air Force real quick, and then we'll ask the feed so Scott can go off and cover that Arizona-Colorado Avalanche game tonight at 7. So the Air Force Falcons, only one guy in double digits, and that was Willie Rhyme. 6 goals, 6 assists for 12 points. He's 21. Brandon Koch. Brandon Koch. There we go. Yeah. Don't mess that up, CC. 3 goals. I just did, but 3 goals, 6 assists. 9 points. 21 years old as well. And then Will Gavin, 14 games played. All 3 of those guys, 14 games played. Played all 14 games for the Falcons. 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points total. He's 20. And last but not least, I did want to say Billy Christopoulos, Air Force Academy alum. I know we mentioned him on the show a few episodes ago when he got Goaltender of the Week honors for the Indy Fuel over there in the ECHL. He has signed last week. He signed an AHL contract, a PTO rather, a professional tryout with the Henderson Silver Knights. So guess who I got to see take warm-ups over there in Loveland? Billy Christopoulos, Air Force Falcons.
Very nice.
So, yeah, that was kind of neat to see that. And, of course, Logan Thompson was the starter, and he's just been on a tear for the Silver Knights. He's 6-1-0, just .46, .48 save percentage, just going off there. But, yeah, to have Billy Christopoulos as your backup now that's a good acquisition for Henderson for sure. So kudos for him. Congrats on signing his first AHL deal. Played with Toledo last season. Like I said, played with Indy this season. So moving on up, earning his keep and getting up there in the professional rankings. So way to go, Billy. All right. Well, now that we're done with the collegiate hockey, it is time. It is time. It's time. I'm not Bruce Buffer, but I give it my best. So asking the feed, let's talk to the fans. First and foremost, let's talk to BK Wilmore at BK Wilmore. That's with one L. Any idea what is going on with Pavel Francouz?
No, and I don't think anyone does. We're not getting any updates, which sucks. But, I do know that the Avs are, shopping some goalies potentially right now.
Okay.
So I think, obviously the prognosis wasn't good heading into it. And, the diagnosis doesn't seem, too great either. And he's been out for, over a month now, and he's still long-term injury reserve. And I don't think he's even stepped foot on ice surface since he left, which, is not good. So at this point, I would think it's got to be another month or so at least before we even see him, back on the ice or anything. And at that point, we are kind of getting to the point where we're playing with fire, and we've talked about it quite a few times where, we want to see what Hunter Miska can do, and can he be a serviceable enough, backup in the NHL, and, played great. Maybe he's kind of he's regressed a little bit, I think, in the past couple of weeks. And, yeah, I mean, it's just the last thing that you would want is, a Stanley Cup playoff situation circa 2020 for the Avalanche, where you're playing, what's his face in net, and, whatchamacallem is your backup. So that's, God forbid, knock on wood. I'm knocking on all the wood surfaces right now that Philip Grubauer can, stay healthy, because that would just absolutely just cripple the Avs, who are already, just kind of struggling as is. And then what? Then you have Hunter Miska and Adam Werner as your 1-2 punch, and I'm not sure how many hockey games you're going to win with that. So they'd be forced to kind of make a big trade and get a de facto number one goalie, which I don't think they necessarily want to do because they don't have the cap space for it. And I know that's another question that's coming up, so I won't talk too much on that one. But yeah, it's rough, and again, like I said, we're playing with fire a little bit, and anything could happen, and all it takes is one guy kind of slipping and falling and sliding into the net, and then he's got a torn ACL or something, or hyperextended his knee, and that'd be devastating. So I believe it that they're shopping some guys right now, and I'll let that segue us into the next question. Yeah,
and we'll save this one, Gil Manklang. We'll save that one for the end, because it's more of a fun question, and we're on the topic of goaltenders. So I'll make a quick amendment to the outline there. So Derf Zuki at DERF ZUKI. If you had the choice of any goalie in the league or major prospect, Knight, for a 1B goalie that fit in our current cap room, who would it be and why? Plus, who or what would you be willing to give for him? So, not a lot of options now. I mean, you can't. It's tough, especially with the taxi squad. What teams would be willing to give up, one of their goaltenders?
Well, sorry, I just got a little distracted. I'm realizing I'm like a beacon of light right now in the screen. If you guys are watching this, is it coming through like that on your screen?
It just, honestly, it's like You're not like super bright. I mean, the fact is that since the sun's going down, you've illuminated a little more, but it's not like you're like wah 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 wah. You know,
I like blinded myself. I looked over. I was like, holy shit. Okay.
No, no, you're good, man. You're good.
I got a bright screen. Anyway, yeah. To the goalies. I mean, they kind of missed their window. There's a couple good, free agents available that would have been, cheap or more cost effective at least. And they've kind of missed that window a little bit. And I think as far as like just free agents, you could just sign off the streets right now. There's really no options that are going to be much better than like a Hunter Miska. I don't think. So I think at this point, a trade is the only option, and it would probably take it would be a bigger trade because they don't have the room to just kind of sign anybody. They have zero cap space. So yeah. What pieces you have to give up? I don't even remember all the question was.
Yeah, they were asking. Plus, who or what you would be willing to give up for him?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you get forced into a corner like that, and that's what I'm worried about. Go back to the last question there. If Grubauer gets hurt, then GMs that Joe Sakic is calling, like they're going to have the chance to fleece Joe Sakic for once, and he knows his back's against the wall, and they can ask for a first round pick, or we can ask for, you guys have so many good young defensemen. We'll take a couple of those, and then a third round pick for some B- grade goalie. That's something that we don't want to happen. So I think, we should probably explore a trade option now while it's somewhat cheap, and just pray that Grubauer isn't so hurt. And that's another thing too. Like not Grubauer, sorry, Francouz. Another thing is like what's kind of appalling to me is they know, like obviously Joe Sakic's talking to the trainers and talking to Francouz probably on a regular basis, and they know exactly how he's feeling and a possible timetable for his return or how long he's going to be out. So I'm just wondering why there hasn't been something done yet, which makes me kind of think that maybe they're confident that he'll kind of shock us all and be like in 2 or 3 weeks, or hopefully a month or less, he'll be back, or not. So I mean, the fact that they haven't really been shopping around that we know of, and they haven't pulled the trigger on a trade yet, I guess means they have some sort of confidence in Francouz coming back, or maybe they just haven't been able to find the right partner, the right deal. I guess we won't know until we kind of just wake up to that news or get a random Twitter notification or text from somebody that a trade went down. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really tell you what pieces would need to be given up, because I don't know what caliber of goalie they're going for.
Right.
And I think it wildly changes based on if Grubauer's out or not. Again, knock on all the surfaces, everyone listening, I'll knock on all the wood around you that doesn't happen, but anything can happen. Who knows?
And that kind of segues well. And I'll chime in a little bit after I present the next question, because it's a goaltender question. It's about, the situation here. Gary Thurner at Gary Thurner on Twitter. Maybe hit up the goalie situation. Miska just hasn't stood up to the heat. I think it's a scheduled loss when he starts. What happens if Gruby misses time? In my opinion, that would be the season. Important topic. Yes, definitely. We're talking about it now. Super important topic. I'm looking at, to kind of piggyback off of this, I'm looking at some of the lower income, like AHL caliber goaltenders that are on NHL deals here on Cap Friendly. And two goaltenders that have done extremely well. You look at their records, one of them is Vitek Vanacek over there in Washington. He's had 20 starts. He's 11-5. 2.88 goals against average, .904. Hey, why not grab another goaltender from the Caps? They
obviously love him. Yeah.
Varlamov, Grubauer, make it a threefer. I mean, why not? Vanacek, bring him on over. But hey, he's having a pretty good season. So, and he's only got a cap hit of let's see, about 700,000 around there. So, I mean, yeah, that's his cap hit, 716,667. And then maybe if you want to trade with the Wild again, I mean, God forbid a division rival and one as hated as the Minnesota Wild, but Kaapo Kähkönen, I mean, after having winning goaltender of the year in the AHL, me and Sean O'Brien saying, hey, get this guy an NHL start, like get this guy on the Wild, and he's thriving. Like he is doing so well for Minnesota this year. 10-4-1. 2.13 goals against average, .924 in 14 games played, save percentage. only a cap hit of $725,000. I don't know if Minnesota would be willing to part with Kakkonen, but that's my 2 cents. I mean, maybe go for Vanacek, maybe go for Kakkonen, and see if you can get a guy that's excelling currently at the NHL level. I mean, and doesn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, no, that's not bad. And I think, at a price point like that, $700K, of course they can, afford that or make the necessary space to do that. But yeah, I haven't done enough research on, cheap alternatives. And again, it's just wholly dependent on, I mean, you got to ask yourself, is this a better option than, Hunter Miska? Is it worth kind of going after someone unproven versus someone who's, been in an organization for a couple of years, kind of knows the staff and knows, what he's capable of. And it depends on, on the status of Philip Grubauer. It's like, yeah, you could afford, a cheap goalie like that to back him up, but is it going to really help you at all in the long run? Probably not. Or if, again, knock on wood, Grubauer gets hurt, then you have to go for a number one goalie and things get exponentially more expensive.
That's very true. Yeah, because the more you start going up and the more experience at the NHL level you see, I mean, of course, the salary is going to go up too. So, yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that cap room is not a luxury that they have. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think maybe even with Trent Miner, heading back up to the CHL or to the WHL rather, which is in the CHL, but it's curious to see if the Avs are really going to pull the trigger and bring in a goaltender. Because, Miner was in the rotation. You had Peyton Jones in there. You were bringing in Kevin Carr when Francouz got hurt. So, what's it going to be? And we'll see. Adam Warner obviously played for the Eagles on Saturday night. Wasn't too convincing. But, when you haven't played a pro game this season, you're going to shake off a little rust and maybe allow 4 goals as he did. But, yeah, you've got Grubauer. Francouz is hurt. You've got Peyton Jones and Adam Warner kind of moving back and forth from the taxi squad. Obviously, Miska is now the backup. And so, maybe bring in Kevin Carr once again. But what other choices do you have? It's kind of a rough situation. So with that all said, let's go to the final question. It's a little more lighthearted. Gil Manklang at Gil_Manklang, one L in Gil. Give me your 3 dream sports scenarios. Mine would be, this is Gil talking. Gil says theirs would be USA World Cup final match, Game 7, Stanley Cup final, Avs in Denver, looking at you 2001, and then a college football final with Mississippi State. So, Scott, you take the floor first, man. What are your 3 dream sports scenarios? I know it's tough.
I try to think of this one a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna steal Gil. It's like for sure, Game 7 Stanley Cup final and Avalanche, and I'm covering it. Would be incredible. I think, for me, that'd be a dream come true. I think obviously for the fan base and to win the game. I mean, I guess that's not part of the question, but it is a dream sports scenario. So I'll say Game 7 win. In Denver, and I'm in the press box and I get to go to the locker room afterward, and it's a good time and obviously great for the city and go to the parade afterwards. And I think that'd be awesome. I've never been a part of a championship parade, so I would love to be a part of one. And we were hoping this year would be that, and maybe it is. We're not gonna count them out yet, but whatever. We'll see. That's neither here nor there.
The favorites or whatever.
Yeah. And then I'll say, obviously I'm a University of Colorado alum, so to see my Buffs in a national championship, I think would be awesome. And then I feel like I got to switch up the sports. No, I'll stick with hockey. Like I would love to see like a U.S. Canada, like Olympic final, which has happened a few times in the past, and I think just to be in that kind of like rowdy space with Canadians and like Team USA supporters and whatever, I think it'd be a cool, just kind of a life changing event. Like it's really cool to see 2 states, especially it's the national pride thing. I've never, like, the Olympics are always fun. Everyone gathers around that every 4 years and wears their nation's colors. And I think to see, being the hockey fan, like to see a Team USA versus Team Canada final would be incredible.
Those are some solid picks. As for me, I think I'd throw in the Colorado Avalanche Game 7 to be able to cover that, or just to be able to be there. I think would be amazing. And of course, to participate in a parade. I mean, living in Idaho for 20 years, not too many big parades. I mean, the Steelheads won the Kelly Cup in 04 and 07, and that was kind of, at the small potatoes, pun very much intended. So,
nice.
But anyway, thank you. But yeah, to participate in in a parade of that size and that caliber, it'd be a fun experience. So I would echo that as well. To cover, I think as a journalist, as a credentialed journalist, to cover a championship win and to be able to, it doesn't matter the series. I think AHL to be able to be boots on the ground, cover that series, be able to feel the electricity of a championship win would be an amazing thing. And as a basketball fan, and this is going to kind of maybe turn the Denver sports fan base against me a little bit, but hey, I was raised and I was born in Sandy, Utah, so I am a Utah Jazz fan. And with that said, the heartbreak of the Chicago Bulls defeating the Utah Jazz 2 years in a row for that NBA championship, I would love to see the Jazz win a title. And hey, Nuggets too. Why not? They haven't been able to do so yet either. So to see the Jazz first and foremost, but the Nuggets, and to be there for a championship game, that would be super cool. So that's what I got.
All right, so you didn't go for the safe bet. I went for the safe bets. I'm going to say it too. I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and I know I don't care about the Broncos at all. I know CC, you're a Broncos fan, but
I am. Yep.
Yeah, not a big fan of the Broncos. Don't care about them, but I was raised a Cowboys fan, and that's just a team that a lot of people love to hate, and a lot of people hate Cowboys fans just in general. But fun fact about me, I try to keep that off social media and off Twitter because I'll get a lot of people giving me shit for it. But go Cowboys! Yeah, to see a Super Bowl would be that'd be awesome. I think it's something that might happen in my lifetime. I hope.
And I will say, Scott, before we sail into the sunset here, the first Super Bowl I remember watching was in 1995. It was Dallas against Pittsburgh, and a defensive back won the MVP award. That's how exciting and thrilling that game was. But I do remember it was obviously Troy Aikman, his last Super Bowl win, and the juggernaut, the quarterback juggernaut that was Neil O'Donnell for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, and I just first memory, first Super Bowl I remember watching from beginning to end. And so that was 95. So I was 8. And I think that's the last time Dallas has been to the Super Bowl, was in the middle of there. And not to rub your face in it or anything.
No, it's fun. That's actually the year I was that was the year I was born. So
well, there you go.
There you go. And actually, I have that hanging in my closet. My dad passed it down to me. I have the official shirt from that game, and I think it was
nice.
Wasn't it on campus at ASU, Arizona State University?
I want to say it was. Let me look up Super Bowl 20. It's Super Bowl 30 real quick. Hang
30,
on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to say it was the last time it was held on a college campus, or maybe the
Sun Devil Football Stadium, Tempe, Arizona. There you go.
The shirt don't lie. My dad passed that down to me, and I wear it every once in a while. It's a pretty cool sports memorabilia piece.
Yeah, no doubt. And the name of that cornerback, Larry Brown. Larry Brown is the cornerback, defensive back that won the MVP award. I think he had a couple of picks in that game, so that'll definitely earn you the nod for sure. But Scott, we got to let you go. You got to get to the game. It is 6:20 Mountain, so.
Yep, I only live a mile away, so I think I'll make it. But
that definitely helps. Are you going to ride your bike there, or?
No, I'll drive. We get free parking,
okay.
So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, and traffic's not going to be a problem, obviously. So.
No, not at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we'll let you go. Real quick, thank you guys for tuning in to the Front Range Hockey Podcast. Don't forget to follow our show on pretty well any major podcast platform: Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. And please give our Twitter account a follow, as you can see our handle scrolling below. And if you can't see it, if you're just listening, it is at Front RNG Hockey. Scott, real quick, tell the people where they can find your work if they don't know already.
Well, if you're watching the video podcast, it is right there at Off Scott Free. That's 0FF Scott Free. I'm on Twitter all the time. I say it all the time. I tweet multiple times a day. I work in front of 2 computer screens at my other job. So I'm on one screen is usually on Twitter, just responding to people or tweeting and doing research. And then the other one's, talking to clients on the phone and emails and stuff. So it's a good time. So always on Twitter, DM me, whatever, at me, please at me. I love being added. Other than that, yeah, find my work at ColoradoHockeyNow.com, where we, cover the Avalanche and the Eagles and, whatever else other Colorado hockey related things we see fit. And we have a good time over there.
There you go. Well, for Scott McDonald, I'm CC Hawkley. You can find my written work at Full Press Hockey. That's www.fullpresshockey.com. And, of course, I cover the Eagles and all things AHL. So come check out our work over there. It's pretty darn good, too, if I may say so of myself. And speaking of which, check out this and a ton of other great hockey podcasts, plus other great sports pods on the Full Press Radio Network at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Just click on that drop-down menu for podcasts, and you've got a nice little list there. So for all the guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there listening, thank you once again. And we ask that you stay colorful, my friends. And I think this is appropriate since ESPN just signed the NHL to a 7-year deal today.
Yes, sir.
Yes. We'll just let that play a little bit. Once again, Scott and Cece, bye-bye now.
Bye, friends.